So in this video I thought I'd talk about my little Hilux I've had for quite some time, probably since 2006 or so. Now this is a 1993 LN86R. These were optioned in Australia with either the petrol 22R or in this case the 3L 2.8 litre diesel. I thought it was pretty cool how they fitted the diesel in these little utes. Quite fuel efficient. But as you can see, I'll show you I've done a few mods to this one. I'll just pop the bonnet. As you can see, it's not quite standard anymore. So when my mate bought this ute, he picked it up with a spun number 4 bearing. Obviously the previous owner probably didn't change the oil very often. These you've got to keep the oil changes up to them as the oil gets thick, and then it'll block on number 4 first. And the rest of the ute was quite a mess as well, just a trade ute I suppose you could say. So mate, give it a rebuild, got the crank ground, got it going again, and then not long after I purchased it. First thing I did was fit a small WRX TDR4 turbo. Went alright, and then I just kept boosting it more and more. And I was pretty much maxed out on that little turbo. So this one here I've changed over to it's actually one of those Kinugawas, or however you say it. It's a TDR5 Big 16G with a 7cm rehousing. So the manifold I actually got off someone else. It's a T2 manifold, T2 flange manifold, but I've got a little adapter plate down in there to adapt it to the WRX flange. This turbo seems to spool up alright, but the engine always had a bit of a tick to it. I could never work out what the noise was. I was giving it a pretty hard time. So eventually I thought, well, there's something going on in there, so I pulled the motor down, and it turned out number 4, a journal on the crank was cracked. It was just a little crack in it, and the crank was moving, and that must have been what the ticking noise was. But it was still going well, and I wasn't being easy on it either. So I thought, well, I might as well go right through it and do the whole lot. So a new genuine Toyota crankshaft, first oversized pistons, got the head checked out, got everything was all done basically. And then I'll put it all back together. And this is how it's been since. So I've also got the front mount intercooler there, and this is what I've added on to. So this is the methanol injection system, which is running 50% methanol in the little bottle here with water, and that's all boost activated. Comes in through the solenoid and then into the intercooler pipe through here. That's what he wants to have a look. So with this setup, it's running about, I can get about 28 to 30 PSI boost out of it. The pump is still the factory pump. I haven't gone to down that way yet, which I'd like to do, because this pump here is actually maxed right out. If I put the fuel screw anymore, it won't come back to idle. So I wouldn't mind getting a new pump for it, 12mm pump. There's a guy who, JH Hilux I think he calls himself, he does some pretty nice pumps for these things, whatever sort of horsepower you want I guess, and it's also got the boost compensator or boost anorak on top of the pump. But they're not cheap, and it is going fine at the moment, so I'm not sure if I'll change it just yet. So I tidied the engine up quite a bit when I did the rebuild. These engines are normally a bit messy. So this has all been painted. I've actually fitted a bigger breather to it, and I've also fitted this little oil air separator I suppose, which runs back into the rock cover, because there's not much baffling inside the rock cover there. and then it goes to the catch can as well, and then just breathes out. Just got a pyro gauge there. Apart from that, it's all fairly factory. No air conditioning on this model, which would have been nice, but the aircon pump on these bolts here. And I haven't bothered moving the battery to get a more cold air intake yet. I'm not sure if I'll do that. But the setup does go quite well. I'd like to get on the dyno soon and see what it does. With this pump though and this turbo, if you put your foot down too quickly, down low it will blow a bit of black smoke until it gets on the boost. But when this comes on, it's not a bad turbo for this engine. And the methanol does help too to keep the pyros down. So when I did the engine rebuild, I went right over the ute, and a mate of mine gave me a hand and put a coat of paint on it. I ended up welding all the holes that was all across here, which had the tonneau cover on it. That was a really buckled, had a lot of bog in it before. It was a fairly quick job, but it's actually come up quite well. I'm happy with it. There's a few little tiny dents we didn't get out, but I do drive the ute, so that's fine. Now these wheels are R32 GDR, so they're 16x8s, just with the factory, the 225/50 tyres on them, some Dunlops. And I did paint these wheels, which was supposed to be in the GDR colour, but it ended up coming out a bit darker. But I'm happy with that colour. It's got quite a metallic to it out in the sun. So the bumper bar, bits in the engine and the wiper, mirrors, all that sort of stuff is painted the same colour, just to keep it simple. I haven't got anything special with the brakes, just got some new rotors and some good pads in there. Just the factory drums on the back. 3-inch exhaust. I'll put it up on the hoist and have a quick look under there and show you as well. The back's just got that Rhino, that liner in it. I need to do the tailgate. When I put my bike ramp on there, it's taking the pan off, but that's alright. Just a little toolbox for carrying stuff. The only trouble with these single cab vehicles, you can't put much inside them. The interior is quite basic. I haven't done anything crazy in there. It's just the factory seats. I put all new vinyl and everything in it, new seat belts. It's just got a different steering wheel. I have added a few gauges. Oil pressure, mechanical oil pressure, pyro gauge, and the boost gauge. And this down here is the controller for the methanol injection. I'll just turn the key on. So you got two little controls here when it starts to activate and when it gets to full spray. So it runs off a pulse. At the moment it's starting to come on about 5 psi, and then it's at full spray at 20 psi. And you can change the nozzles, but the nozzle I've got in there at the moment is probably the biggest you want to go. I did have a big one in there, but it actually started to rattle when I was on that high nozzle. Trying to think what else. It's only factory head gasket, factory bolts. There's nothing fancy going in there, but they do run a cast iron head on these and a multi-layer metal head gasket. And with the booster on I'm running at the moment, I haven't had any issues yet so far. Standard Hilux diff, but I have changed the ratio from 4:1 down to 3:9 just to get some more speed out of it. They're pretty slow top speed, there's little utes. You could even go a lot lower than that again really, especially with the power I've got now. Get the RPMs down on the highway, but I'll leave it like it is for the moment. And it's also got an LSD I fitted out of a four-wheel drive, which is just a clutch type. But I've shimmed it up as tight as I can go. And it does seem to work okay in this. I guess being only a two-wheel drive with small wheels and stuff, it's probably not going to be as much load as having a big four-wheel drive with big tyres on it. The springs are King reverse eye leafs. Lowered. In fact, yeah, that's how they are from King's. But I have got some blocks in there. But if I wanted to lift it up a bit, I can just take them blocks out. With some, and I've got some modified bump stops in there, which are just more foam type. KOB shocks. Just some heavy duty mono tubes. The exhaust, as I said, 3-inch. I did used to have a 2.5 piece through here, but I've just changed it now and modified the dump pipe so it's 3-inch all the way now. It's getting pretty tight in there. I had to put a V-band in because it gets tight around near the torsion bar. And with the Hiluxes, because the exhaust is out this side, but you've got the fuel tank here, so you always got to do some kind of crossover somewhere with the flex joint. The front suspension's original, fairly close to original, just with some modified bump stops, and being torsion bar you can just wind them down. I haven't gone to the spindle drop and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go that low with it. Where it sits at the moment's fine and it doesn't ride too bad. Just with heavy duty shocks. And for some reason the diesel version like this didn't come with a front sway bar. It had all the mounts and everything, so I just got one out of a petrol model and bolted it all in there. And it doesn't seem to handle too bad. It's not ultra clean down here. I mean, I do use the vehicle, so it's not a show car. So yeah, the next thing, oh actually I just forgot, I have removed the rear proportioning valve arm off the diff and put a new proportioning valve in there. I've always had a bit of trouble with this thing locking up the back brakes. It is better, but it's still putting too much to the rear brakes. So something else I need to look at in the future. So yeah, the next thing is to get on the dyno. I'll put some new back tyres on it and we'll see how we go on there.